It's not enough to have the characters in my sketchbook. I want to hold them in my hand and meet them proper.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't get that with like 2D animation.
So you see creatures and faces in ordinary things.
Yeah, all the time. Like, I love it, and I get a lot of inspiration from my book from that, but it can be intense as well. Over the years, when things like that would happen, I'd be so upset afterwards with myself. I've cried in the car after a meeting when I've said something because I've been like, oh, they're not going to trust you. If I stop that, then I'm stopping the ideas. And you don't hire somebody, do you, and think, bring your B game. So my A game is to include those bits as well. I wanted to get across that access needs aren't preferences. It's not a nice to have. It might make the difference between somebody being able to do a job or not, or actually just doing anything or not.
So the fact that you preferred doing a TEDx talk to going networking
so
to me was just wild.
Hello, I'm Kim, and today I'm on the Nurture Your Zest podcast.
Hi, and welcome to Nurture Your Zest. I'm your host, Ashleigh King, and I will bring you a wealth of interesting people with fascinating ideas across the tech industries, the creative industries, and also uplifting stories of courage and hope. We all go through prickly situations in life. I believe that through courage, creativity, and curiosity, you can find inspiration to nurture your zest. That thing that gets you up and out of bed every morning, the thing that lifts you up and lights up your day. So join me in the studio and let's see who we have in the hot seat today. Hello and welcome to Nurture Your Zest. I'm Ashleigh King, and I'm very delighted to be introducing you today to my friend Kim, who is a creative and very talented person who sees the world so differently to me. And I love seeing the unique way that she puts things together. So I'm so excited to share Kim with you. So thank you, Kim, for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm a bit tired.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because, you know, like when you've got a podcast to do and your brain goes, think about everything in the night. It was one of them nights.
So I want to ask you a question immediately here. When you talk about that, if you've got something coming up, do you experience the waiting zone? Because I do.
Is that where you mean like you can't do anything else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
If I have a doctor's appointment or if I know there's a particular report coming up, it might even be something 2 weeks out. It's like my mind becomes so preoccupied with it. And although I try and do work, I'm just in the waiting zone.
Totally. 100%. Like an afternoon appointment, you're like, the day's gone on it because you've just got that to do.
Yeah.
And like you can't get, or I'll like go, oh, actually, I'm a bit early for that. But then I'll pick a task that's like, I can't fit it in that time, but I think I can. And then end up a bit late. So
yeah, it's such a strange thing. I find sometimes when you're in that waiting zone, you're kind of like waiting and waiting and waiting. And then sometimes you still miss it because you get the time wrong. Or so I've found this particularly when I'm traveling sometimes, like on long flights home to South Africa or Zimbabwe. I've missed flights before because I just get stuck in that waiting time.
Yeah.
And I've had to put lots of new things in place. Anyway, it's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
We've got amazing creatures at the front for anyone watching. For anyone listening, I do encourage you to check out Kim's work. So we're going to leave her Instagram and her website stuff in the show notes. So please go and support her and check out her stuff. We're going to talk about those wonderful parts of your imagination in a minute, but I want to know more about you. So, for anyone listening or watching, tell us more about Kim and also your accent. So, where are you from? What's your background?
I'm from Billingham.
Okay.
In Teesside. I've only ever lived in Billingham. I'm very proud of being a Smoggy, I think they call us, don't they?
Yeah.
So proud Smoggy. I love Teesside. And I've been lucky that in the last 23 years, I've been able to carve a creative career in Teesside mostly. And I do creative direction, costume and puppet design and construction, illustration. And I suppose now I'm a TEDx speaker as well. It's another thing to add to a long list.
Mm-hmm. Those are some incredible different skills as well.
Yeah.
So although they're all very creative, they're quite unique skill sets that you need to use and change between those. And oh my gosh, I'm so jealous that you get to work in costume and you know, creating and making things and doing stuff with your hands, how important is it for you to be able to touch and feel and experience things?
It's really important. Like, an example is like fabric shops are closing down all the time, and like buying fabric online just isn't the same, because I like to be able to touch it to see it, which it's a weird one. But also I find it difficult to work in gloves.
Okay.
Because I can't, even if like I need to read, like I dye my hands rather than put gloves on, because I feel like I can't see what I'm doing unless I can touch what I'm doing. So and it's just, I think for most people to be engaging in some kind of physical activity like making, it's quite mindful, isn't it? Or it can be. And I'm lucky that I get to do that and call it my job as well. Like,
exactly.
Amazing.
There's so many questions I want to ask you immediately from what you said about yourself. So for anyone listening or watching, I'm sorry if I go on a bit of a dance around things, but yeah, I mean, I'm so intrigued that you've got all these wonderful creative skills. When did they show up for you in life first? So how did that journey begin?
I remember when I was little and we'd be around my nana and granddad's house, and you know, if you get like a Christmas card and there'd be animals on it, and I'd be drawing them, and I'd love that. And I remember drawing a bird, a tiny little bird, and it was on a big sheet of paper. Like I feel like that's the first drawing that I remember doing. And then skip forward like most of my life, and then a few years ago I had my first solo exhibition, and I was getting interviewed for the paper summit, and my dad came with us, and on the way there or back he said, oh, when you were little, back then like the insurance person used to come round to get the money. And they said, my dad said, oh, the insurance person came and you were sat drawing, and they said, oh, she'll be an artist when she's older. And I only just found that out like a few years ago. So I think it's always just been in us. Just any spare moment, like drawing especially, I'd be like, oh, what can I draw? My mum would say, draw your left hand holding a pencil, because it's just there, in it, and you can just draw that. So like drawing hands, I suppose, like I did quite a lot of that. So
wow, so that kind of proclamation over your life of like, she'll be an artist one day, do you think that is something that you internalized without meaning to subconsciously, or
maybe? I mean, when I was at primary school, my brother was in like the final year, 4 years older than me, and I'd gone into first year. So I'd made a finger mouse puppet, and they got me to teach it to my brother's class.
Oh, wow.
And then puppets weren't really on my radar in terms of something that I would do until many, many years later. But I loved films like Labyrinth, still my favourite, Fraggle Rock, things like that. Like, I loved puppets, but I didn't think that was kind of the path I was taking. But maybe it is just like
little
meant to be.
Together.
You're like, how did that happen? Like maybe that set the path, and then you come back to it later.
There's a really cool lady, and it reminded me of this book, so I love this lady. Her name's Erica Wolf Murray.
Right.
And she wrote this book, Simple Tips, Smart Ideas. And I had the fortune of doing a Creative UK session with her, and I loved it so much. But one of the things she talked about in this book, which I love, by the way, because it's so colourful.
It does
and
look
like,
a good book.
I don't know about you. It's got
like pictures in it. It separates it up.
Exactly. It's so visual.
Yeah.
But one of the things she talks about is how she uses an example of cake, but she talks about how we all would make cakes differently. And some people might put like chocolates and cherries or peanut butter or whatever. But it's kind of like with your creative career, because that's her whole focus is the creative industries. We all have such unique talents. So rather than thinking about competitors and stuff like this, what is it about you that makes you so unique and your unique selling point? And that's why I love this, because it's kind of all about those tiny moments in your life. Every work experience you did, every job you ever did, every friend you ever hang out with, some stuff about your life kind of all adds up. Even the lessons you've learned that have been tricky. And it's like, what makes you different that someone should work with you or shouldn't? And I just love it. It's so empowering.
Yeah, like I always say, because there's lots of like different facets to what I do. But even if I do something like in an illustration, it's weird, but like not long after, a job will come up where something I've learned through doing the illustration will inform a puppet, but it's not connected. But I learned something from everything that I do that carries through.
Yeah.
So it, like, you wouldn't necessarily connect the two, but
And so just picking up some of those points about your life, your upbringing, where you're from, and thinking about Billingham and Teesside. So you mentioned something really interesting there. You said you've been able to carve a creative career in Teesside. Now, I know a lot about Teesside. It's a really special place. It's close to my heart. I've got a lot of friends and previous history there. But I also know that it's been voted one of the worst places in the world, in the UK as well, for a young girl to grow up. And in terms of career aspirations, we have got some incredible places in Teesside, like Double 11 for gaming. We've got, you know, Chloe Clover and Lutana with Wonder Films.
Yeah.
We've got In the Frame and Hartlepool. We've got some really cool stuff going on. And I think there's only going to be more as more comes to Sunderland and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what's your experience of being a creative in Teesside? Because you have been able to carve a career for yourself.
Yeah, I think doing a lot of different things has been good and actually crucial to the longevity of the business. When one thing's quiet, maybe you'll get to do something else that you can. And I just think that there's lots of different creative outlets on Teesside, like Carnival and Riverside Festival, and like we've done parades in Middlesbrough and in Redcar and Cleveland as well, and just I feel like there's been a lot of opportunity for me, and people have said like over the course of my career, like, oh, why have you not moved to London? And I'm like, well, I'm all right here. Like there's stuff to do here and I love it. And why not play a small part in bringing something cool to Teesside if I can? And there's been that trend, hasn't there, recently, where it's 2016 to 2026. And I think it was 2016 when they said about growing up as a girl in Middlesbrough. So, and I was thinking about that trend and I was like, there's so much to do. And there's so many, like with TEDx Teesside as an example, independent organised events that are shaping a new narrative of that. 10 years, is it 10 years? Yeah, 10 years later.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, thinking of the Women X Film Festival, we sponsored that in the past, and I love what's going on in terms of aspiring filmmakers and just some of the work happening in the region. So
the Tees Valley International Film Festival as well, like that's a massive thing. And I'm just so lucky to play, like I say, I always say a small part because I know working behind the scenes, I know that you're just one small piece of it, aren't you? And I just love that I get to do all these things.
It's such a crucial piece though. So if you look at Keanu Reeves, I'm sure there's a famous story about him donating, you know, almost his whole salary from, I think, The Matrix to the special effects team.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show the special effects crew, the people making the wardrobe items, the props, it makes such a difference to the story. And if you think of The Labyrinth and all those shows that you love, some of those tiny details and those puppets really will have made such a big difference to your story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So who are your inspirations? Like, who are your people or your creative kind of crushes?
I love anybody who does character.
Yeah.
Like, it might not be anybody famous.
Okay.
It's just anybody who's doing a cool character. I might not remember the name, but I'll remember the character. But like famous wise, like I love Guillermo del Toro. Like their films are brilliant, and kind of when I come to doing my personal work and my own artistic practice, like the kind of aesthetic is quite aligned with mine. Jim Henson, like with the Muppets and all those type of like Muppet handheld puppets. Just anybody who's doing character. If
you were a character, who do you think you would be then? Because this might be a bit of a weird question, right? But I know you love green, so for anyone watching you, I'm just thinking like the Muppets you mentioned. I'm thinking of like
Oscar the Grouch.
No, I wasn't thinking of what's he called? The
Kermit.
Kermit.
Well, it's funny because I didn't know what to say at first when you asked it, but for years people would buy me like frog ornaments and things.
Okay.
It might be to do with that I love green. It might be to do with like I love animals. It might be to do with my lips are really thin and it's quite frog mouth. I've got a wide mouth, and I used to do the advert, you know, hello, I'm a wide mouth frog.
Right. Okay.
I used to do that advert. I used to do quite a few of the adverts to disguise my social like awkwardness. Like it could be that like I've got a frog that's like a Michael Jackson frog, like Michael Jackson music. So I'd probably be a frog or a bird.
A bird, I like that.
Birds are my favourite.
Right.
Apart from dogs, monkeys. Birds are just accessible, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd like to be a bird for the feathers, I think.
Yeah, that's nice.
Maybe a frog with feathers.
That's cool.
Yeah, let's have that. That's what I'd be.
So I'm a very feeling kinesthetic person, and immediately I feel so revolted by the idea of I love feathers. And I'm thinking of the slimy skin of a frog with feathers, and just the juxtaposition of those two textures, and I'm like, ugh.
They'd be getting oiled, the feathers, wouldn't they? Have this? Yeah.
But yeah, that was why I wanted to ask you that weird question, in the sense of so I don't know how to phrase this, but I'm thinking of poison ivy.
Yeah.
They're a character and they're green. Or do you find, in my head, it's you wouldn't immediately like the mask, for instance.
The mask?
The mask, because he's green.
Well, I've got a mask of the mask.
Have you?
Yeah. A latex pull-on head of the mask.
Have you? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've had it for since years since it came out. I bought it on a college trip to London. So I'm having that.
It's so funny. I'm just thinking now.
And I have a cabinet of characters, pop vinyl characters, and I've got a little poison ivy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I probably do gravitate to, and I love Wicked.
Right.
So Elphaba.
Yeah.
If I could play a part, no one would want to see me singing, but hear me singing. But yeah, sometimes I just paint my face green for the crack.
I suppose Halloween's a good time then.
Well, not even just Halloween, just literally for the crack. Just sometimes during the day, I'll just be Dave will come in from work. I'll be like, all right. He's like, all right, yeah. I'll wash it off. He's like, oh, you took it off. I'm disappointed. I suit it better than my own face. So yeah, I'd be a green character.
I like that. I don't think I've ever asked anyone that question before, but it just felt really important.
I just said it to somebody else the other day, because I said, I bought my turkey and ironing board, and they're like, what? So people don't have the same conversations with me as other people. That's what I get told.
I don't.
It's nice.
Can you explain the turkey and ironing board?
Yeah, my turkey puppet. I had it on cable drums, it's a big, large-scale turkey, and I had it on cable drums in my studio. I was like, it's wasted space. I've got a high ceiling. I was like, it's really wasted space. So why don't I buy it a wide ironing board to sit on, and then I can fill up around.
Smart. So you're almost using the ironing board not to iron, but to use it as a shelf.
As a shelf,
that's really smart.
And a fold-away shelf if you need it.
And it's also smart because it's giving a shelf that's soft enough to support your character, your puppet. That's
and it's
amazing.
On brand because I'm a costume designer.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah, what a smart idea.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about these little creatures?
Yeah. These have come, apart from Piper, who's the new one, these have come from my sketchbook, which came about because I was working on a film, and normally I would do costumes for the film, but this time it was you can say no if you want, but will you illustrate this book? And I was like, it's the best thing you've asked me to do. I love it. And I'd bought a book from a charity shop. We just needed 3 double-page spreads for the filming, and I bought a book from the charity shop. It's 400 pages, and I just inserted mine in, distressed it so it looked the part, but it just was a bit of a trick. And I thought, you know what, I love drawing that so much that I'm going to continue it on, and I'm going to do 400 pages of my own.
Wow.
So I've kept it going. And as part of that, I applied for a Developing Creative Practice grant from Arts Council.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got that. And it was, because when lockdown hit and events got cancelled, a lot of my work is in events. And I was like, what can I do to have a bit of a pivot if I need to? And I was like, maybe I'll learn stop motion animation, still puppets.
Oh.
And I was like, and I'll be all right at making the puppets because I make puppets.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't as all right as I thought I was going to be. It's totally different. A manually operated puppet is totally different to a stop motion puppet, which is what Lockie and the Toadstool are that are here, that move in small increments, and you have to take a picture and then move it. It's got to hold its pose. So Lockie is the lockdown Easter Bunny. And for anyone listening, he's about 11 inches tall. He's covered in sepia brown fabric, and he's got a permanent plague mask. And I designed him in my sketchbook during lockdown. And I just said to Dave one night, crouch down, because I've got this idea, crouch for a pose. So he did. And then I drew Lockie on top of an egg. And then when I got the money, I had to pick out a few to make them into these stop motion puppets, and Lockie was one of the ones that I picked out and made him. And I don't know why I picked him out. It was just one of the ones, and then everybody loves him. I've had grown men tear up looking at him.
Oh wow!
They're like, oh, it just reminds me of like Bagpuss and that type of kind of aesthetic, I suppose. Like Lockie moves in he's anthropomorphic, so he's a hare, but he walks on 2 legs, and he's built on an armature that is like a human armature, but we did extend the torso. What I didn't want in creating him is having, I didn't want him to look like a human in a rabbit suit. I want him to definitely be a hare. So animating him, it's quite easy because he's got those nuanced like little movements that you can do. Whereas the Toadstool, he rides about on a unicycle, because I ride a unicycle. So he goes about on a unicycle in his stalk, and the cap is red with white spots, and then it's got like stitches across, because I do incorporate stitching a lot in my work, in my illustrations, and this is another illustration out of the book. And then it's got an eye that can move in all directions, and it was different animating Lockie. This was a different challenge, because to create expression where it's just the eyeball essentially that moves, but if you can like you turn the cap and it'll give a bit of a different expression, or like a frown, so it comes off. So it's just different things. And Piper there just knew at Christmas, like just Christmas gone, my friends, we've been wanting to try this like pipe cleaner technique where you make things out of like non-traditional like things out of pipe cleaners, I suppose. It's become like a thing. And she'd got all the stuff, and she was like, come. And I'd been really poorly over Christmas, and she's like, come. And I had a massive table full of stuff. And I think we were going to be making moths, and she ended up making a moth. It was great. And I was like, I'll just have a play. And like I honestly thought I was making a moth. I had no idea about what I was making, and ended up making this character, which I think probably started off maybe like a bird's skull that I sculpted in like oven baked clay. And then I was like, well, what if he had ears, and made it a bit more mousy, and like it just developed, and I just enjoyed that process of not having an idea and just letting it kind of flow. And so now he's kind of similar size to Lockie, and he's black and white, and he's got wings and no arms, just wings.
Wow, I mean, just listening about them, they're incredible. And also just the creative process. So some things you're designing before you try, but also, as you were saying, you know, with Lockie, for instance, you want it to be able to feel like a hare, not a human, to be able to move in a particular way, or walk or bend, or it's just incredible the work that goes into these things. I love them. I love that you're sharing these with us, and they are so incredible. So how does it feel when you are doing stuff like this? Because from the outside looking in, it looks like, wow, it's an opportunity to explore and experiment and have creativity. But I feel like the boundaries and the governance on that might feel challenging. So what I mean by that is you had a developing your arts practice, the DYAP, is that right?
DYCP.
Yeah, so developing your creative arts practice, with the Arts Council, which is amazing. Congrats, because it's so competitive.
I know,
so it's
I was
so
lucky to get it. I couldn't believe it. Like, I had helped to write it, but we wrote it in a week, and then we were just like, do you know what, we've got a week, let's just get it in, and what will be will be. And I got it.
It's amazing.
It's so amazing.
So I would imagine then, so that would perhaps fund being able to do some of those things. But then do you find that because you're doing it for a deadline or for a kind of particular time scale or for a governing board, there's also lots of paperwork and administrative stuff and reports to write or
it
proof?
can be. Yeah. With this, I documented, because I document my work all the time anyway, so I documented the process. So I suppose putting the report together, I was last minute with it, because I'll always take all the time that I've got for something. So I was last minute with getting it in, but it just, I think I got an extension as well. Some things happened and I needed a bit, but because it was a developing your creative practice, it didn't really matter. It wasn't like for an event where the deadline is the deadline. I was just like, can I have a bit longer? Because I haven't kind of had the chance to properly do this. And they were fine with that, Arts Council, which was great. It's good really to keep you accountable if you've got to report back. But with the DYCP especially, it's not like you've got to have so many people attend, or there's none of those considerations. It's more, you've just got to go, look, I've learned this. And even if you go at the end, I think it's not for me. It's all right, but it was definitely for me.
It's amazing. I love them. And I love that with Lockie particularly, it's a plague mask. So it's almost, from going through that pivot and that experience of lockdown and moving into puppetry, it is a real kind of snapshot, time capsule of the fear that everyone had, but also a nostalgic look at maybe, in the past, kids wouldn't have had the toys that we have today that are so manufactured so cheaply. So this is almost like perhaps how puppetry might have been done, finding resources and kind of doing things in a very physical, tactile way. I love that. I think it's really special.
I love that. I think the stop motion goes really well with the aesthetic because it is like part of my application. I said it's not enough to have the characters in my sketchbook. I want to meet them and I want to hold them in my hand and meet them proper. And I was like, you don't get that with like 2D animation. Like I wanted to be able, like we take Lockie adventuring. People want to know what he's up to.
Oh, I love that.
I know.
So it's like the Lockie travels and exploits.
Yeah, I mean it's fun for me to do it. Like on a walk, I'll be like, oh, Lockie can come and we'll get some pictures and stuff. It's great. But also it's kind of, if I release a little animation, the buy-in's already there because it's like a long buy-in. Like people will see pictures. I mean, like we've had him feeding alpacas, we've had him up rosemary topping, just loads of different things. And if people see him doing those things, they're like, oh, what's that? And it's intriguing. And then it's like, oh, and he's an animation. So maybe they'll sit and watch that because they know Lockie and there's that familiarity. Whereas if I just land a random character, they're like, oh, don't want to see, don't scroll on. So it's kind of firstly, I do it because I love adventuring with him, but it's kind of a good business model as well, accidentally.
Absolutely. So did Lockie appear on your TEDx talk?
It on the screen behind.
Oh yes, he did.
My friend Kev Howard took, because I said, oh Kev, part of my DYCP, Kev, will you take some pictures of my puppets? I did a fish as well, as 3, and Kev was like, I haven't really photographed puppets before. I was like, treat them as people, because for me they're people. I like them better than people, so I was like, just treat them as you would a portrait. So we used the one of me holding Lockie on the screen. And then Lockie was there, and he got some pictures on like the X and stuff like afterwards. But I didn't have him on screen with during the talk holding him because I needed to like do other bits in there.
Remember, and you didn't want him talking to you while you.
Well, no, I didn't. Well, everyone would just be looking at him, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I mean, he's a very handsome hair.
He is, yeah. And take his ears off when you say anything good about him, because if he gets a big head, the continuity will be awful, won't it?
So I loved your TEDx talk, by the way,
Thank
and
you.
we'll link to it in the show notes. It really actually astounded me. I was so moved by it. I knew it would be good. And I didn't actually know what you were talking about. So until I was there, I obviously saw programs and stuff, but I kind of went in with an open mind. It was one of my favorites of the day.
Thank you.
And I think because it was so authentic and it was so real. So we're going to link to it in the show notes, but for anyone who hasn't watched it yet, and if you want to just tease them a bit about the content, what did you talk about in that?
I talked about why I wear odd coloured shoes.
Okay. Do you want to lift your feet up or wiggle them out to the side and show everyone?
I've got a pink one on my right foot, on my left foot, sorry, and a green one on my right foot because green's always right. I wanted these ones for my TED Talk, but I couldn't get these and the other significant part of the set that I needed to get.
Yes.
So I've got these in the sales at Christmas.
Good. So with the TEDx talk you had, so normally for people who don't know, TEDx has like this, a lot of red branding.
Yeah.
It's derived from TED. It's an independently organized TED event. So it's a TEDx event. And there's a red circle. And for yourself, Kim, you needed it to be a green circle. And that is also part of your talk. So can you tell us why that was important?
Yeah. It didn't need to be a green one.
Okay.
It needed to not be red.
Okay.
And because green's my favourite colour, it might as well be green.
Yes.
Like I don't like red. I'd just be thinking about the red.
And how it feels.
And how that feels.
Yeah.
And how I don't like it and kind of a negative thing. And I didn't want that. I wanted to concentrate on the talk.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in the first interview I said, how negotiable is the red? And Michaela, who runs it, was like, what are you thinking? I was like, well, can I have this green one? She was like, don't see why not, do it. Like throughout the talk I wanted to not use any buzzwords about autism or like masking. I talked about masking, but I didn't say that word because sometimes people might be turned off by that. Like they've heard a lot of that, and it might just be like, oh, well, like we know that now. So I was like, I just want to talk about it in kind of normal language. And by doing that, it was like, I wanted to get across that access needs aren't preferences. It's not a nice to have. It might make the difference between somebody being able to do a job or not, or actually just doing anything or not.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so moving, the talk. And I think because you were so authentic and you were just, look, I'm here. And one of the things you'd said is, I prefer this to networking. And I was laughing inside thinking, so I'm someone who's been executive producer for a TEDx event. I know how much work goes in. I've also coached TEDx speakers. So I know the fear and the like stress into planning the talk and doing the talk. So the fact that you preferred doing a TEDx talk to go in networking so to me was just wild. But you said really smartly that actually it was because you could meet a lot of people at once. And actually now your talks, you know, online on the TEDx channel, it's going to be, you meet a lot of global people, which could bring you
one
more
blanket introduction.
It is.
It's a great hack.
You can put it on your LinkedIn, you know, and so again, you don't have to do all those networking events because it'll bring things to you. But the thing that really struck me about your talk, and I really was so moved by it, it really shocked me actually. So you talked about how you couldn't sometimes show up in meetings in the way you wanted because maybe you'd go in a room and the pink folder was over there, but the green one was over there, and you needed something to be moved because before you could even say your name or interact. And I just was, I think the main thing that shocked me was I always try to learn about equality and diversity and inclusion, and especially neurodiversity. And I always thought I was very progressive with that. And one of the things that I've always done as a manager is if someone's not talking in a meeting, I've tried to open opportunities or ask them, hey, what do you think about this? So even after the meeting, I've tried to take them to one side and kind of check in with them. And actually hearing your advice in the talk was actually let people join in different ways, or let them have time to think and process and reflect and send their ideas afterwards, or you know, send agendas before. And it really, really moved me.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you took that from it. Like for me, it's just life, isn't it? And you don't know what people resonate with. Or what I wanted to do was like I'd researched some stuff about TEDx talks or just TED Talks, and some of the criticisms were like that it's a bit too like the advice or the kind of things that you say to the audience, like I want you to go and do this, isn't really achievable. And so what I wanted was, I knew that the things I was saying that helped me weren't groundbreaking. There weren't anything that somebody hasn't said before, but I wanted it to be. Like I was kind of hoping that it would make accessibility accessible, in that someone could just could do that in the meeting tomorrow at no cost, other than a bit more time maybe. So I wanted it to be like that. And I think that I wanted it to be like, well, for me, like if I'm not speaking, it's not because I'm nervous usually, it's because I'm processing other things. Or maybe someone else has come up with another idea and it's a great idea and everyone's saying like, they're hyping up the idea, but I can see that through to the end stage straight away, like within seconds, and all the steps in between, and I'll go, well, that won't work on grass. And actually, if we're asking kids to do something and we're saying it's meaningful to them, if we're clearing it up after each session, what if they come back later and they see that it's cleared up? Things like that. So I'll be like processing all of those things. And then it's like, oh, Kim, what do you think? And I'll be like, oh, what's your idea? And I'll be like, well, hang on, because I'm just thinking about theirs as well. So there's lots of different things. But going back to the folders, it's like go around and introduce yourself, which I hate anyway. And then it's like, oh, right, so it's my turn. And I go, oh, so what's your name? Can we have that pink folder put next to my green one because it matches my shoes under the table? And then like over the years when things like that would happen, I'd be so upset afterwards with myself. Like I've cried in the car after a meeting when I've said something because I've been like, oh, like they're not going to trust you. Like especially thousands of pounds, give it away. Like I was just in a meeting the other week and we were just chatting, and then it like looked out into like Middlesbrough, the window, and I was just like chatting, and all of a sudden I was like seeing them penguins on them roofs, and it must have been like chimneys or something, but I just come out of it. And now I don't give myself a hard time about it. I'm just like, well, I will just say some stuff, but that's because I've got ideas, you know, like if I stop the ideas, then if I stop that, then I'm stopping the ideas. And you don't hire somebody, do you, and think, bring your B game. So my A game is to include those bits as well.
I think this is a really important topic because there's so much in the press at the moment about, well, not even in the press, there's all these creative tenders and opportunities where it's like, how will you help people who are not currently contributing to the economy to do well in work and all this kind of stuff. And for instance, we're a disability confident employer. And I hate this because I want us to be that. But actually, when I have hired people in the past, I haven't always been able to support them in the way I want.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I'd love with access to work, if you employ people, is for the government to give you a grant to buy the equipment you need for the staff member. Because it could be £4,000 to £6,000 you have to spend and wait to be refunded. And so it's quite hard as a small business to do that.
Yeah.
But similarly, I wanted to ask you about, you talked about making things accessible and helping people or helping make things, work at work. It is these things, it's like being in meetings and being able to contribute as yourself and show up as your full self. And I think that's a really special thing for collaborators, partners, creatives to have together, to have spaces where it's safe to go, hey, there's penguins over there, if someone else might see chimneys. So that's a really interesting point as well. So you see creatures and faces in ordinary things.
Yeah, all the time. Like, I love it, and I get a lot of inspiration from a book from that. But it can be intense as well. So if like I'm a bit overloaded, or if I'm going to have a meltdown, like that can get even worse for me. But generally, like I'm so lucky that I experience it so strongly that I can get a lot of creativity from it. And we've got this one here, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a face, isn't it?
I didn't even think. Yeah, so tell us more about that one.
Like I know it's a picture of like a cactus, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe more than one cactus.
Yeah.
But like I look at that and like on some level I know that's a picture of cactus, but I don't need to say that to myself. Like I straight away look at that and I don't, like it's almost like I do see the cactus, but I don't, it's subconscious, that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to pay attention to it. Like
Right.
I already know that. But I pay attention to is that face there where there's the two eyes and that's the nose and then it's like a smiley mouth.
See, I saw that as almost like a tongue sticking out when you said there was
Well,
a face there.
It's funny how people see different, when you point it out, people are like, oh, actually it looks like that. But so I look at that and I can't get past that face.
Right.
Like,
so you're almost like blanking it out and dissociating
yourself. It's just like, I can't look at that picture and not see that.
Wow, okay.
Like that's the main thing that I like, what I'm tuned into, I suppose, rather than like, it's a picture of a cactus.
Yeah.
I straight away just tune into that face and that's what it is.
So have you always seen that? And also,
I think so.
When that first started happening, was it scary ever?
No, like I remember coming back from like uni on a bus and you know, like where the poles kind of meet, there's like a little like bracket thing.
Yeah.
And like on there, it's like, I was like, the face is on the bus. Like I just remember, and I remember thinking, how come I don't see it as like the rail? Like, how come I just see that as a face? Like,
wow.
Is it like this subconscious, like it's a rail?
Yeah.
And then like, as I've thought about it, as it's gone on, I've been like, that it must be on a level that I don't need to pay attention to. That's all I can think of it as.
But you did say there's a special term for that one.
Pareidolia.
Pareidolia. So can you tell us more about that term, what it means?
Yeah. Like a lot of people will probably experience a form of it, like seeing faces in clouds.
Okay, yeah, all right.
People won't know the name for it. So, well, some people might, but mostly when I tell people, they say, I do that, but I don't know the name for it. And I had to Google the name like years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, this must be something.
And we had a great conversation offline before we started about synesthesia and shapes and how things feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And some inordinate objects can feel, just like you were saying with the carpet being red and the feel of it under your feet. And that's one of the other things I liked about your TEDx talk. It was so emotive because you were saying things like the way the words feel in your mouth and the way you're chewing them. And I sort of felt really... just moved by that. And
do you know, like at school, like I have certain words like, in English that I won't say.
Okay.
Because they're like, I can't bear the feel of that in my mouth. I just can't. And then when I did French and German, it was the same.
Okay.
So for my German oral exam, there was answers that I knew, and this affected my grade.
Oh, wow.
But I couldn't bear to say them. But I didn't know what was happening to me at the time.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I just can't say that word.
Wow.
Like it took my autism diagnosis to kind of look back and process it all to think that's what was happening. But like in French, the teacher would ask me a question. This is like kind of going back to like speaking in the group. And sometimes I wouldn't know the answer. Sometimes I would know the answer, but I couldn't say it because I didn't like the feel of the word in my mouth. And I would be on the end and the teacher would pull his chair and sit there and wait for me to speak, and I'd be like, oh, on the table. And everyone would be like, beam on, because I'd be bright red. Just kids being kids, it's all right. But kind of getting the autism diagnosis makes you kind of backtrack and pick out key points in the past, and you think, makes sense now.
So when was that? Like how recent?
The autism diagnosis. Yeah. On the 9th of March, it'll be 7 years.
Wow. And what did it mean to you when you had that piece of information that was missing all that time?
It was the first time in kind of, as long as I can remember, that my brain, I didn't feel like my brain hated me.
Right.
Because I used to be like, why do you do that? Like, why do you say about the folders in a meeting?
Yeah.
Like, why? And I'd be like, it must be because my brain tries to sabotage me. Like, it does its thing. I don't know what its thing is. It just does, it does a thing.
Did it feel like it fit, like the words, or did they feel heavy? How was the like going through that time?
Do you want me to say the bit from my TED talk about it?
Yeah, please. Yeah. That would be great. Is this the one where you kind of used a bit of spoken word?
No, that's another. This is just beautiful. A bit where like it. I won't say this bit like the same, but kind of the gist of it is like it felt like somebody else's words were in my mouth.
Wow.
It felt like going back to the texture of the words and things. Like I was like, I don't know if it doesn't feel right in my mouth because they were new words to me.
Yeah.
That's what it was. But at the same time, it felt like I was getting wrapped up in a cozy blanket.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a lot of processing backwards and forwards. But that process was kind of coming out of the like awkward, like, oh, well, there's this now, to just feeling really cozy and warm with it. Yeah.
It's funny how just that sense of recognition or home of like, oh my gosh, the relief, it's not just me, there's something. I felt similar when I thought about dyscalculia and why maps and directions and shapes, like numbers dance for me, and I can move them, but actually I didn't realize I love puzzles and puzzle recognition.
Yeah.
Pattern recognition is a big gift of dyscalculia.
Yeah.
And so, it's fascinating when you find out that you're different in a way. And if you haven't been through the journey, it's hard to express, isn't it? But there is a sense of relief.
It is, and like instantly from the second I got told, and I've never once since thought that my brain hates me. What I've thought is my brain's doing its best.
Yeah.
All the time. And that's massive.
And I want to talk about that for a moment. So when your brain's not doing its best, and you mentioned earlier when you're about to have a meltdown or when you have a meltdown. So, there's stuff on the TV, there's stuff on the news or kind of in shows about autistic meltdowns. I watched Atypical, and that was a show I really liked because it taught me a lot about autism, actually. Yeah. I wondered from your experience, how do you know when that's coming up, and what kind of thoughts go through your head, or is there anything you can do to prevent a meltdown? Yeah, like everything will just become louder, and that might be visually louder, it might not be auditory, like everything will just be bigger, louder, more, and I can feel that. And if I'm with somebody, like people I know will just be like if I can't make a decision as well, like say I need to get a sandwich and I can't make a decision because I'm in a supermarket and I hate that, and so my friend Tina would go, just want to come around here for a minute and like just walk me away from it for a bit. Things like that. So it's recognizing the signs and sharing those with like people who, depending on the level of work that I'm doing with them, sometimes they need to know. Sometimes I haven't shared any with you today. I'm working with you today. I didn't need that level with you, but somebody I'm working with closely every day, maybe I will. But we did laugh about getting here, right? Because I'm the same. Like, we've got a few trips coming up to London, and I'm like, last time I got lost for 3 hours wandering around because I couldn't read the map. And it should have been such a straightforward journey, but I was too scared to get the tube. So it's like...
Well, I was like, I get the train, and then someone will have to meet me off the train and get me back on the train. And then when I looked on the map, it was like, it's quite far away. It's like a taxi drive or a walk. And then if I walk in the cold, by the time I get in, I'll be boiling. And I was like, so Dave was like, I'll just take the day off and I'll just drive. Because I was like, I could drive myself. But he was like, I know, but what if like it's bad traffic? Or he said, I don't want you getting stressed. And then, so he was like, I'll take the day off and then I'll drive you. So it worked out.
It's great when you've got people who love you, who support you and understand all those quirks as well. So for anyone who's employing people who are autistic, do you have any thoughts on how employers could make things more fair or accessible? Or actually, let me take that back. Not just employing people, I'm talking about employing freelancers or giving opportunities to creatives, which I think is really important. What would you like to see more of?
I'd like to definitely see more autistic people getting jobs, freelance jobs. I think because my diagnosis came later. I mean, people thought I was a bit weird like before, but it's nice to put a name to it. I think I maybe had a privilege in that I had a body of work already. So now I just go on, I'm autistic or not as well. Like some people maybe trying to get into creative industries or maybe haven't had that chance because of communication differences to kind of get in. I'd love to see doors opening up for those people who don't have that body of work to kind of speak for itself and to advocate for you. I'd love to see that happening. And I think generally I'd love to see people getting to know the people that they're working with as people and asking what works for them. I don't like it brought to attention in a meeting if I'm not speaking. Somebody else might not be speaking because it's a lack of confidence. For me it isn't, but for them it might be, and just that little prompt might let their quiet voice be heard in a room full of people who love to talk or more comfortable kind of expressing their ideas. And I just think we get to know people, and that's only going to benefit everybody, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many little things that people can do. Like myself as well, as I said, I've learned from your talk to give people agendas or thinking or reflecting time, or even time to say, hey, can we have a quick one-to-one? I've thought about this a bit more. Or even things like, hey, we can have a one-to-one. There's nothing to worry about.
Just like,
you're not losing your job.
Let's have a chat, but like don't drop it on a Friday afternoon.
Ready for a Monday.
Let's chat on Monday. What's going to happen? Just like, we'll chat about this on Monday. Like that's cool. Letting people know what to expect.
Exactly. Okay. So I mentioned I love your TEDx talk, and we talked about material earlier as well. And you've got this wonderful puppets, and you do dressmaking and puppetry and costumery. Can you tell me? There was a bit in your TEDx talk I loved, which really moved me, and it was just so beautiful. Could you share that with the listeners?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. I did then when I did it at TEDx Teesside. That's the first time I've ever done that. In front of more than 2 people, and the times I was doing it in front of 2 people was when I was rehearsing the talk.
Okay, yeah.
So I've been kind of involved with and hanging out with poetry type people.
Okay.
For a lot of years, but I've never done my own thing. So yeah, I'll give it a go, shall I?
Yeah.
Together, my feet, heavy lasts, iron cast, connected with hooks and eyes. My body rise waits me to the seat. My salvaged skin, where warp and weft meet, all knife pleat neat. Contained, tail attacked in, head red, backstitch those loose thread thought leaks in my head. Nothing from pink welt pocket on my face except teeth and taste. I'm speechless. That's it.
I just feel really moved by that. It just really connects with my soul. I don't know what it is. It's just so special. Did you write that yourself?
Yeah, I do writing, but it's not something that I shout about, because when you knock about with poets, they're the proper poets, aren't they?
And sometimes they have the egos with it as well.
Well, I feel like they work at it, and that's what they do. That's their craft.
Yeah, of course.
Poetry isn't my craft. Right. I have a bash, and like most of it's like stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
I'll write it, and that's how it is. I don't go back really much. Maybe a little bit, not much. Usually when I'm writing something, I'll just have a few words that are like bothering me.
Okay.
And I'll be like, oh, something I need to say, and I'll just write it, and that'll be what it is. So that was during a writing workshop that bit years ago. I didn't write that for the talk.
Right.
I already had it. And that was from years ago. And I was like, I'd said to Ben, who was my lovely mentor, like, I don't want to like drop into a cringe bit of poetry. I've not done it before. I'll take it out. I'll take any of it out. I'm not precious over any of it. If you think it's rubbish, like, I'd rather it be good, and I'd rather be told now than it goes out and it's like that's. And Ben was like, leave it in. Like, it's a good bit.
I love it. I think it was the right call. So Kim, we're coming to the end of our episode now. Every time we do a Nurture Your Zest episode, I always ask my guests, what is your one word to nurture your zest? So what would that word be for you?
Creativity.
Creativity. Yeah, tell us more about what that means to you.
It's like, even when I'm not working, I'm creating something. I'm working in my sketchbook. I'm constantly creating something.
Yeah.
I might even be creating a mess, but there'll be something I'm creating. So yeah, I think creativity, or creating, just doing, I suppose, isn't it?
You said the mess. I always think the most fun part is the creative chaos and the sparkles in that. Like, there's so much fun stuff comes out of that.
Like, I've took over today, haven't I? When I was getting stuff out of my bag today, I was laughing because when I do the windows in my friend's art gallery, I go in, even if she does my prints, she does my printing for me and my scanning. Even when I'm just going in to like check colours or anything, I take over pretty much the whole of downstairs. I'm just like, yeah, and like just things get put everywhere. And that, so when I was like, I've put all my stuff over there, I've got these.
And it's funny that it's all green as well.
I try my best. When I can get away with it being green, I will. And when I can get away with something being not red, it won't be.
I love that. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on
Thanks
Nurture Your
Zest.
Zest.
My first podcast. Thanks
Hopefully the first of many, I hope.
Thank you so much for listening to Nurture Your Zest today. If you're feeling extra kind, it would mean so much to me if you could share this episode with your friends or family, or anyone who you think might feel inspired by this content. Liking, sharing, or interacting with our content is a great way to support us as content creators, and it helps us to bring interesting stories and more people to you. This podcast is a Flamingo Heights podcast studio production, and I've been your host, Ashleigh King. If you liked today's episode, follow the video on your screen now, or check out the link in your show notes to find similar content.